Do you want to become a millionaire? No, really, do you want to become a millionaire? Well, today we start a brand new series on building wealth for young people. Financial expert, author, economist, speaker Tom Hegna is going to share with us how simple it is to really become wealthy in America today. Who is Tom Hegna? Well, he's considered by most to be the retirement income expert. For the past 30 years, he has been helping baby boomers retire the optimal way. What Tom found while helping baby boomers is that their children and grandchildren were making some serious mistakes with their money. His latest book, Tom Hegna's Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, is a roadmap for younger people to build wealth. Many people believe this is the first generation that will not be able to do as well as their parents have done. Tom disagrees strongly. He says that if young people today have the right tools and the right mindset, they will be able to easily surpass the success of their parents. You're going to hear from some of the top financial professionals in this industry as they also share their best tips for building wealth. Now, it's important to recognize that Tom Hegna does not sell any financial products. He has spent his career helping financial professionals give the very best advice to their clients. Here now is Tom Hegna.
I am super excited about our next guest, Cody Askins. Now, Cody and I go back. I even asked him to write the foreword of my new book, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Because, look, he's an inspiring guy. He's an up-and-comer, and so Cody, I want to welcome you. You have an inspiring story, so kind of tell us where it all began.
So I've been in the financial services industry my entire life. My dad was in the business he's been in the business 34 years. I got started in the business at 19 as an intern. Fast forward to 20, I went to my first recruiting meeting, and I go in the room, and there's 10 of us in the room, and the manager says, "Take a look around." He says, "Everybody stand up, take a look around." He says, "Now 9 of you sit down." He left one person standing, and what he said next, I still think about every single day today. He said, "Maybe one of you will make it," and I'm like, "Wow, that's how difficult financial services is, right?" But it's also such a rewarding career. And when after that meeting, I said, "Well, if there's going to be a one, I'm definitely gonna be the one." So I actually got with my dad, wrote out a contract that I was gonna help so many consumers and make 6 figures my very first year, dated it, signed it, hung at the wall in my cubicle, and then saw it every day. And so I'm a big believer in setting goals and doing those things. You're actually 900% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down every single day.
You started off as an insurance agent yourself, but then you transitioned to help other people grow their business. So talk to me about that decision and how it's led you to where you are today.
Yeah, so I'd sold for years, and back when I was selling, I had a sales manager that said, "Hey, I've got these 2 agents. They live in northern Missouri, and they're truly struggling. Can you come help them?" And so I drive up, spend several hours with them all day. They make sales, they're happy, and I'm driving home, and I start getting emotional and tearing up because, man, I'm like, I have found and figured out what I want to do for the rest of my life. Because the more agents and advisors I can help, the more consumers they can also help along the way, right? And so I found I had a passion and a drive for helping people. My grandfather was a Baptist pastor for 40-something years, and so we both have a love for speaking. You've spoken the same amount of times to where you're like, I don't want to travel and speak anymore if I don't have to. And I'm just getting to the point where I'm like, I want to speak as much as I can, you know? And so now get to where we transition into doing events and traveling the country and speaking while building a brand and a YouTube channel around the financial services industry so that we're able to help millions of consumers around the world. And really, when you think about how agents are able to work with their clients and advisors are able to help people, the more they can learn and spend time with someone like you and actually help their clients implement the steps of becoming a millionaire, no matter what age they are, then they're really able to help people grow, protect, and eventually distribute their assets.
So Cody, it's kind of a crazy world out there. We're seeing inflation that had been dead for 30 years. We know the budget debt, 33 trillion in debt, almost 200 trillion of unfunded obligation. We know taxes are going up. So it's a crazy time for people to invest. What are some of your thoughts around all this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll actually go through some of our favorite ways to invest and start to really invest in appreciating assets and what that looks like and what it can look like for others. Really, all of it starts when it goes back to income. You know, whether you're entrepreneurship is super glamorized nowadays. You know, there's entrepreneurs who are inside of a company or a business they can still do extremely well income-wise and be happy, and a lot of them may be more suited for that, right? So figure out whether you want to be an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur. And just because everybody wants to be one or the other doesn't mean that you have to fit in that box. Like, you be you, right? And do what's best for you. You can just have a phenomenal income, phenomenal career, live a less stressful career. A lot of times entrepreneurship is more stressful. Plus, most young people are more suited to actually be an entrepreneur nowadays. I mean, we have 17 sales reps on my inside sales team in my office, and majority of them will earn six figures as an entrepreneur. And then some of them are still going and buying the Broncos and the Teslas, and wasting some of their money. But they'll learn, right, as we all do. But really, it's like earn income, save up cash, and invest in appreciating assets.
You talked about YouTube, you talked about your social media, you're everywhere, you're on TikTok, you're on YouTube, you're on Instagram. How has that helped you with your business?
Yeah, it has immensely. I first started, my first YouTube video was December 29th of 2015. And we just hit 100,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel July 20th. You can check it out at Cody Askins. And if you think about social, here's what I love about social. There's 4.6 billion people in the world on social media. 150 million new users in the last 12 months. And the average person spends, believe it or not, 2 hours and 24 minutes every single day on social media. Right? If you look at a month, if you look at a year, that's a month, over a month a year on social. If you look at 12 years, they spend a year. If the average person lives to be 84, they spent 7 years of their life scrolling social media, which is insane. And so I share that to say that like everyone is there. I mean, I was at a mastermind I was speaking at recently. We were on a rooftop bar just literally this past weekend in Nashville. And a gentleman walks up and was like, "Hey, are you Cody Askins?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I actually thought some of the guys were like pranking me or like setting me up. But he's a PNC agent out of Nebraska, watches all of our videos. That's the power of a brand, you know? Like I always say, like your vibe attracts your tribe. Yeah. So most people when it comes to social, they want to like be a different person. It's like, no, you want to be you. You want to be who you are. You want to be authentic, real. That's what I love about you. Like you're authentic, you're real, you're always helping people. And I truly believe it's the best thing someone can do long term to really start to help them grow a business, especially young people.
Yeah. So now you're the founder of the 8% Nation. Kind of explain what that is and what the company does and how you came up with that name.
Yeah, so 92% of agents and advisors fail within their first 3 years. Hence, 8% succeed. So we're focused on helping really anyone, and anyone that wants help, like well, we do our best to help them. And I always wanted to inspire others to chase their potential, reach their dreams. I truly believe that anyone can earn 6 or even 7 figures if they have the right information, right? Which is what you share, which I love so much. And I actually had a wake up moment in my life of like realizing what I want to do and really starting to like focus on what is my career going to look like when I was actually at a conference. And so because of that, I'm like, well, if a conference was that meaningful to me and that impactful to me, I guarantee you it can impact and inspire and help so many other people along the way too. And so because of that, we're able to teach financial professionals to help their clients the best way they can, right? The importance, like the items in your book, the importance of having a plan, investing in appreciating assets, spending less than what you earn, which sounds revolutionary, but it doesn't happen nowadays.
Well, nobody talks about it, and people are buying stuff that they don't need. They're putting on a credit card. The interest rate is 24, 28%. And so just these tips, give some more tips that can help the younger people.
So here's what happens. A lot of people, when they start making some money, their first thought is, okay, now I need to reward myself and like show off and like, you know what I mean? All these things. It's like, no, you really don't. It's like, do you want to be the person that like is 35, 40 years old that spends every dollar you have? Or do you want to be the Tom Hegna later in life that can golf, has flexibility and freedom, retirement is set up, and isn't stressed about how he's going to go back to work somewhere, you know, at late 60s just to make ends meet and earn an income.
Now, you wrote a book too, 0 to 6 Figure. It's a great book. Now, what motivated you to write it and what's in it?
Yeah, so this book is all about how anyone can go from any income level, flat broke, et cetera, to earning 6 figures a year. And there are a lot of simple money concept, sales concepts. I really believe income, as you talk about like having income and then actually using that income wisely to invest in appreciating assets versus depreciating assets, which we'll get into, is super valuable. And the reason I wrote the book too is like, it was my life. Like in my first 8 months at 20 years old, I didn't share this earlier, but in my first 8 months, I earned 117 grand. Selling life insurance as an advisor while I was in college and playing basketball at 20 years old, right? And so that's why I wanted to share that, because less than 3% of the global population earns six figures. Roughly 33% of Americans make six figures annually. Most don't, but they could. And I believe that if someone really wants it, it is attainable for anyone if they walk through the specific steps and if they have the right information. And then they have to listen and apply the information at the same time.
You host a weekly Power Players podcast. You interview some of the most important people in the financial world. What are a couple maybe of the most memorable little sessions that you've had?
Yeah, interviewing you was a really cool moment. I mean that. Like I've been studying you for my whole career. You know, I remember meeting you several years ago at an event. Getting to interview my dad multiple times, get to share his story is amazing, really cool moment. You know, like he helped 465 families his very first year in the business while running a debit route. Interviewing Brian Tracy and Les Brown, some industry legends, on our virtual conference. Been able to meet and MC a bunch of other really, really cool names at our main conference. And so like it's allowed me to get around people that have been successful in life. They're following these simple steps. Who wants to be a millionaire, like they're millionaires, but they're like you. They're humble, and they really want to help people at the same time. And so they're there to share the information. And so the more I can rub shoulders and get around those people, it's like, okay, you know, you want to eventually have a house at a country club. Well, you should probably go hang out at a country club.
Yeah, no, and there's some other good books. Think and Grow Rich had a big impact on me. The Millionaire Next Door talks about living a simpler life and simpler lifestyle. Yeah. Now, you're doing some stuff with AI, artificial intelligence. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hot topic right now, you know, and I tell a lot of advisors, like, you know, AI is artificial intelligence. Some of them just need some action intelligence to go, you know, do something and put forth some activity. ChatGPT seemed to really kickstart it over these last couple of years. It's something that has absolutely revolutionized our industry. It's helping advisors generate leads and even book calls. Like I found that this morning in a meeting, we had out of all the leads we generated last week, we had a 49.55% of them that actually booked a call on the advisor's calendar because of AI. A lot of it through automated responses. It can carry on whole conversations. Yeah. It's actually got to the point where we're working on some technology behind the scenes with a couple of our partners now to where it can actually like make calls and actually respond to objections and book appointments. It's wild, but it keeps learning. It keeps getting smarter. Financial services, it's allowed us to really catch up even at times and stay ahead of the curve at times. And so it's a really, really important piece. You can feed it info, it'll write stuff for you. Yeah. Even when you're building Facebook ads, it can pre-populate ad copy for marketing now. Like there's a lot it can do, but it can really simplify your business and just become an industry standard.
I've used it to help draft things, and you know, David Maki is another friend of mine, and he's doing some things with an AI assistant and everything. And I just think this technology, you know, I have to deal with compliance all the time. And so I'll ask AI, I'll say, find me articles on this subject since 2020, you know, so it doesn't give me all the old ones. So there's a lot of neat stuff there. So what tips do you have for younger people? They're trying to build wealth. They want to be a millionaire. What are some other tips that Cody would have for them?
Yeah, find your passion. You know, and spend your life doing that. Like it's interesting because at 18 years old, we're like assumed to know what we want to do for the rest of our life. You know, and that's really hard to figure out.
Yeah, I've got a 21-year-old daughter, and you know, I was encouraging her to go in the Air Force. She didn't, but you know, she's so serious about it. And what am I going to do? Where am I going to be in 20 years? I said, Sammy, I didn't have an idea where I was going to be. Just get out there in the real world and start doing stuff. You know, I mean, it's crazy. Well, Cody, this has been great. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, where can they find you? I mean, I find you everywhere, but where should they go?
Yeah, so they can go to CodyAskins.com. They can always email me, Cody@CodyAskins.com, or they can follow me on any social platform at Cody Askins. Specifically, Instagram is probably my personal favorite now to just interact and share behind the scenes, which is at Cody.Askins.
That was great. Thank you very much, Cody. Hey, welcome everyone. We've got Erik Sussman today. I've known him for years. I've admired his work. So Erik, welcome.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Tell us about the Institute of Financial Wellness. That's what you're working on now. Tell me a little bit about it.
Absolutely. So the Institute of Financial Wellness, what we do is we provide really valuable financial education, resources, and solutions to help people live their best life. And what we really do is help them get there, wherever there is for them. And we also help financial professionals with different marketing, different services, technology, things like that. And that really, really helps the advisors give the best value to their prospective clients and clients.
And I think one of the best gifts that a parent can give their child is having their own financial shape and order, you know, that they don't run out of money, that they've protected against long-term care and things like that. And so you help the parents of some of these younger people that we're going to talk about on how to build wealth. Now, what makes IFW different than other financial planning resources?
There's really three key things that make what I think the IFW to be very, very special. And first and foremost, we're completely agnostic. We're unbiased, and we're really education-based, and we like to think we keep things really, really simple for people. And you know, there's a lot of agendas that are out there, there's misinformation and bias out there. And since the IFW is not a financial services company per se, we don't really directly sell any products. Our only agenda is to give people the facts they need to make smart financial choices. And our philosophy is that when it comes to financial decisions, we don't want to ever say, we never say never, we never say always, it depends, right? The other thing that makes us really, really special and really, really different at the IFW is that we have this patent pending technology report that I mentioned before. And what it does is it guides people through their retirement journey. And we connect them with an IFW certified financial professional. They review the report together, and then they can make adjustments to the portfolio to get the highest probability of success score possible. So we're a connector too.
So now, Erik, what we're trying to do today also is help young people on how to build wealth. So what would be some tips that you would have, some concepts maybe that younger people should focus on to build their wealth?
Yeah, well, listen, we all know that you've got to have a plan, right? We always say, and I know you share this with me, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. And having a written plan is so, so critical. We think that there's a lot of pros and cons of a strategy or product, and you want to see and discuss both with different clients. You know, you don't want to just look at everything as this is good for this person, this is good for that person. Everything is different depending on people's situation. And we believe that in order to navigate that, you really want to work with a trusted financial professional that knows how to guide people to make the right choices. Another little tip that I've found is we all should pay ourselves first. A lot of times we pay the bills, and then at the end of the month, we think we're going to save some money, but then we end up not doing it. So the idea of having an automatic savings program where we can pay ourselves first, I mean, why else are we working, right? Let's pay ourselves first. Spending less than you earn is another key thing, right? It's more important for us to impress other people than really impress our bank account, right? So I think impressing our bank account, making sure that we're saving for ourselves, not living above our means, these are little things, but really over time could be so critical.
Erik, taxes are a big obstacle. And we know with our country being $33 trillion in debt, climbing at $4 billion every single morning, almost $200 trillion of unfunded obligations for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, government pensions, military pensions, taxes are going to have to go up. So what are your recommendations around, you know, potentially a significant rising tax rate environment in the future? What advice do you give people?
Well, this is we're really clear on this. There's a concept called either a Roth conversion, where a Roth IRA is where you pay the tax now in exchange for tax-free distributions later. So I'm a huge believer in the Roth IRA because of what you said. Taxes are very, very likely to go up. And in the old times when the 401ks were initially introduced to us, tax rates were 70, 80%, so you wanted to put money in before you paid that 70 or 80% tax. Now, taxes are lower, so it doesn't necessarily make as much sense to put into the 401k. Now, you always want to put in at least what the match is, right? So if the match is 4%, put in 4%. But if not, there's alternatives like Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks. These are instruments where you pay the tax now in exchange for tax-free distributions later. Cash value life insurance, structured properly, can be a very, very attractive financial vehicle because it works similar to a Roth IRA. You get a death benefit, but it also increases cash savings, tax deferred, and you can access it favorably, tax-free or preferred later on down the road.
So Erik, that's a great point. You know, I was playing golf. I'm a golfer, and I was playing golf a few weeks ago with a guy, and he said, "Tom, I got $1 million in my 401k." And I said, "Wow, that's great." I said, "How much of that is yours?" And he said, "It's all mine." I said, "It's not all yours." I said, "You got a partner, and you're the limited partner, okay? The government's the general partner, and the problem is you don't know how much they're going to take. I mean, right now they're taking somewhere in the 30s, but what happens when that goes up to 40, 50, 60%? And that's the problem with those 401k. So I agree with you. Put it in up to the match, but beyond the match, I would not put it in a 401k. I'd put in that Roth 401k, Roth IRA, or cash value life insurance. I think that is great advice. Erik, there's so many financial products out there. There's ETFs, there's mutual funds, there's stocks and bonds, life insurance, annuities, crypto. What are your thoughts about all these different products and which products, you know, are best for certain ages?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's very, very important not to chase the hot product of the day. When crypto was doing great and going off the charts, you didn't want all your money in crypto. It would have been foolish. So diversification is so, so critical. Now, what should a young person diversify in? A diversified portfolio of mutual funds, ETFs, could be individual stocks and bonds. But you want to have a diversified portfolio, address it with a financial professional that has access to tools that can make for a very, very good diverse portfolio. And the other thing about it is getting life insurance, getting different types of insurance and protection products in place when you're young is so critical. You know, now that I'm 51 years old, I realize that, you know, little things in your health change and it makes your premiums go up. So had I gotten more and more insurance when I was in my 20s and 30s and even my 40s, it would have been so much better. You know, as a matter of fact, Tom, in terms of diversification, we have that retirement roadmap experience and that software report that we create for a lot of people. And we found, right, without proper diversification, we run something called Monte Carlo simulation, which is a probability success score. And this person had a 67% chance of achieving their goals based on what they were doing. And what they were doing is they just had a portfolio of stocks and bonds. When we added in stocks, bonds, and that indexed annuity as the volatility buffer, the part of it that de-risks the portfolio a little bit more, they went from a 67% chance of success all the way to a 96% chance of success. Pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah, and not only that, the failure is different because if you fail with the stock and bond portfolio, it could literally go down to zero. But with that volatility buffer you're talking about, even if some of the other investments went down, that will always still be coming. So the failure is different even.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree. You got to get insurance before you need it. People say, well, I don't need life insurance. Well, of course you don't. You can't buy any insurance when you need it. You got to get it. You're young, you're healthy. And everybody I talk to who's like in their 60s or 50s, 60s, 70s wish that they would have bought more life insurance in their 20s and 30s. I got my long-term care insurance when I was 42. So I think because insurance products depend on your health, those are things that you want to get when you're young as well. So, Erik, research shows that retirees, even if they have $1 million, are worried about running out of money. So what tips do you have for retirees?
So running out of money is literally at the Institute of Financial Wellness at the IFW. We do a lot of research and talk to lots of different people. You said $1 million. People with $3, $4, $5 million are worried. They're concerned about running out of money in retirement. So, you know, this is where sequence of returns risk, longevity risk are two big things. And personally, there's been a lot of studies on how annuities can be a really, really good asset class when you're worried about running out of money. There are some phenomenal research papers out there from Ibbotson, who talks about fixed index annuities being a better replacement for bonds. BlackRock, $9 trillion of assets that they manage, they've come out with studies. Ernst & Young coming out with studies that talking about how annuities inside of a retirement portfolio make for it to be much more efficient. So we're big believers as you get older. Now for the younger people, that might not make sense just yet.
Right. So younger people should be more in the investment world, and then once you have wealth, that's when you start talking about protecting it and distributing it more efficiently. So, Erik, we talked prior about when you lose money, you know, if you lose 50% of your portfolio, it's not like if it goes up 50%, you're back at even. So how much do you need to break even in the market?
Well, this is a very interesting concept. You know, a lot of people look at their statement and they see, oh, I average 0%. But yet when they look at the amount of money they have, they went down 25%. How did that happen? Well, if you have a portfolio and it goes up by 50%, right? Fantastic. But what if it goes down 50% the next year? Did you know that you actually lost something called geometric return, which is the actual rate of return, 25%? Let's go through it. I have $100,000, it's up to 150, up 50%. Then it goes down 50%, it's down to $75,000. So another way of saying that, as you asked, is if I lose 50% the first year, I've got to make 100% to get back to even. So that those volatile markets are very, very concerning, which is why that concept of diversification is so critical.
Yeah, no, it's true. And again, the younger people have the time on their side so they can weather the ups and downs. The older people don't necessarily have the time on their side, and so that's where that sequence of returns risk comes in. So, Erik, if somebody wanted to find out more about you, how can they find you?
So, first of all, you can go to our website at www.the-ifw.com. You can learn so much at our website, and one of the things that you might want to be able to do is sign up for a Retirement Roadmap Experience webinar where you can learn and we can connect you with a financial professional as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you very much for joining us today, Erik.
Absolutely.